Tocvan Ventures to you today. Really, Tocvan formed on the premise of a long downturn in the gold market. We knew there was a lot of projects out there that were undervalued, and we knew there was a lot of opportunity to find those projects and start moving them forward again. We had evaluated in 2018, 2019, over 100 projects globally, and very fortunate for us that we came across Pilar in Sonora. And since that time, we've built a portfolio here, acquiring El Picacho, and we're very excited to be part of this jurisdiction and part of this community. So just some background on Tocvan. We are gold, silver focused. We're earning 100% interest in both our projects here in Sonora. Currently, this has been updated. We got 37 million shares outstanding, so a good share structure to the company. And really the most important part is we have a proven technical team that's based here in Sonora. I'm really the only outsider that's kind of part of that, and I'm really proud of the fact that we work closely with Rodrigo and the team that he's built around him. And really, without them, we wouldn't have the success we've had so far. And with that, we'll go to the next one. So why Mexico? I don't really need to sell you on why we're in Mexico, but I think it's important to note that Mexico has now surpassed Chile for exploration investment. $600 million US annually now goes into Mexico for exploration, and that's huge and that's important. Now looking at gold production, it's been a top 10 gold producer for a long time, the #1 silver producer. So a lot of good reasons to be here. And when you look at Sonora State, it's the top gold and copper producer in Mexico. It's got an established mining community. You're a testament to that. Excellent infrastructure, easy to access these areas, and low cost to mine and explore. And that means you can take your money, your dollars, and put it in the ground. More chance for success. And the biggest thing about Sonora is the people. And this is just part of our team, but again, I can't stress this enough. Sonora is really special in that because of the history of mining, there's excellent people here that can allow you to advance these projects. So looking at Sonora, here are the two white dots. Those are our two projects. So Pilar, about 130 kilometers southeast of Hermosillo. Road accessible. We can drive to the small town of Suaki Grande, and then a small or short drive on a dirt road out to the project site. It's got some good neighbors. Santana, which Minera Alamos has been producing off of, is 50 kilometers to the east of us. San Antonio is 25 kilometers to the north, and we drive past La Colorada going out to our site. So it's just on the edge of the Sierra Madre belt there in that basin and range section. But I think this is actually quite a prospective area, and probably has been overlooked in the past. And then looking at Picacho, we're right next to the San Francisco mine, part of that Caborca orogenic belt. Call it what you want. We like it because it's perspective, and obviously some big mines along that corridor. La Herradera, again, right next to San Francisco, 3 million ounces contained. We have very similar geology and structure at our project, and again, that's why we're excited to be there. And then just looking at access, both of these, Picacho is really just off a 4-lane highway. We drove there the other day. It's quite easy to get to. And then I think it's important to note what makes Sonora special is that you've got these bulk tonnage, low-grade deposits, and just looking at some of the grade on these reserves just shows you what you can mine, and that is kind of unique. If you look outside other jurisdictions in the world, typically you don't see that low of grade being mined, but you can do it here. And then really just to drive home Sonora, great place to be. You've got certified prep labs. I think the prep facility that ALS is running is one of the best in the world for turnaround. I've been really impressed with what they can do. And you've got all the consultants, contractors you need to advance these projects here. Both are projects 2.5 hour drive from the city, fully road accessible, great local resources, and proximal to the producing mines. So again, these big guys here. So first I want to talk about Pilar. This is a gold-silver epithermal system. It's got a long history. Exploration started here in the 90s, and there was a bit of a hiatus after that till 2010, where it saw a round of drilling for a few years. And really, when we came across it, there was about 15,000 meters of drilling completed on it. It really focused on one zone, what we call our main zone, and just to the north of that. And it seemed like things were every time they went back to drill, they're just kind of retesting that area instead of trying to expand out on that. And that's where we've been successful. So, we've started out drilling through our main zone. This year, we drilled 117 meters of 1.2 grams per ton gold. That included 10 meters at 12 grams per ton gold with 23 grams per ton silver. And, seeing excellent recovery. We did some composites from RC chips through that zone as well, and seeing over 90% recovery of the gold. High recovery of silver. I don't expect that to always be the case, but, great indications we can recover the metals here. So for Pilar, because of proximity to other mines and where it's at currently, we do feel that we can move this towards near-term production. Obviously, there's a lot of work to do to get there, but we've got some great analogs close by. And one great example is Santana. When they completed a bulk test mine before they went to production. Excellent recovery, showing that you can produce here. And really, the cost to put a lot of these into production, you're looking at 15 to 30 million, which is actually quite incredible. If you look at other companies exploring in Canada, in Alaska, they'll spend 15 million in a summer trying to explore and find something. We can build a mine in Sonora. That's special. So, we think there's a lot of potential here. Average recovery, typically kind of in the 70% range. And, that's kind of what we are shooting for. And so far, we're seeing indications we can get a little bit higher than that. So here, looking at the property, again, this is our main zone, and this is where historically a lot of the drilling was completed, also a little bit further in an area we called North Hill. And again, in the past, there was a lot of drilling kind of focused on that area. When we started out, we spent about a year getting familiar with the geology, doing some geophysics, exploring on the eastern side of the property, getting good indications there. But our first drill program was in 2020. And that program, we drilled 9 holes, really doing modest step outs in the main zone, 25 meters, just to see what we had. And that returned 94 meters at 1.6. So extremely promising. 3 of those holes of the 9 returned some of the best results in the property. And that gave us a lot of confidence that we were onto something here. We followed up with a phase 2 program, and again, stepping out a bit further to the southeast in different corridors, and getting great indications that mineralization was a lot bigger than previously thought. So here's looking at a cross-section through our main zone. We completed a trench last year, right at surface, 20 meters. The entire length of that returned mineralization. 60 meters below that, we've intersected that zone, 117 meters of 1.2. And it looks to continue so far to a depth of about 125 meters vertically. And there's still some room to test below that. So we think there's potential there. But, it's in a great spot. It outcrops right on the side of a hill, heavily oxidized, heavily fractured, high-grade mineralization along strike-slip faults. And that's later been normal faulted and kind of adjacent to and parallel to this big regional fault, normal fault. And, it's got all the plumbing to really show that there's bigger scale, bigger potential here. So, and just simply looking at, the white unit, that's an andesite. That's that's characterized as flows and dikes, and that's been brecciated, and that's what's hosting the mineralization here along these structures. And then just looking at the RC results through this same zone, consistent high grade adjacent to these faults, but also fairly consistent low grade mineralization that really kind of adds to the bigger picture. So just looking this past year, we've drilled further to the southeast, and really just want to point out that yellow line is the next cross section here. And this is, to me, the most significant hole we've drilled. 108 meters of 0.8. That included a high grade zone, which we actually have the core out on the table today at our core shack. Each day this week we'll have different core out. But really nice, consistent high grade in this silicified breccia. That's right at the base of that interval. And what was significant here is there had been a lot of historic drilling done in the area vertically and towards the northeast. And we thought there was potential to kind of spin the rig around and drill the other way. And with that, we were able to intersect this, which was in a space that was kind of previously unknown. So very exciting to intersect that, and it just shows that there's a lot more to find here at Pilar. And then later this year, we completed a reconnaissance program. Really, the purpose of this was to kind of step out even further beyond that main zone and see what the potential could be. And all the holes that we drilled, there were 7 in total, all of them intersected structure, mineralization, alteration that is very similar to what we see in the main zone, but we just weren't really seeing the grade yet. And I think we've got some good indications. 30 meters of 0.4 is a good start. We've got this other trend that we're starting to define. There we're getting over 20 meters of 0.3, but really high silver that kind of elevates that. So 19 grams silver across that. And again, we think this is a great start for us, and there's still a lot of area to explore further along trend. So that's kind of the next step, is continue to drill these corridors towards the southeast. So later on, I'll kind of recap and talk about our next steps at Pilar. But now I want to jump into El Picacho, because we think this one's really exciting for us. This is our next step in advancing in Sonora. And we've got 24 square kilometers here. I call it brownfields exploration because the San Francisco mine's just off in the distance here. This is our San Ramon prospect in the foreground. Big area, very prospective, high-grade mineralization in artisanal workings and past surface sampling. It's fully permitted for drilling and trenching right now, so we can get active as soon as possible. And then looking at, again, where it's located, so San Francisco mine, 18 kilometers towards the northeast of us. Great infrastructure, easy to get to. These are all the main prospective trends that we have currently. And right now we're focusing on what we call San Ramon. And I'll go in more detail why. But we think that's the most easy target to kind of start with as we kick off exploration here. And then this dotted line, this is a regional fault that is thought to be the main conduit for mineralization. And it's this fault and splays off of it where we have shear zones adjacent to it. That's hosting mineralization, and very similar to what you see at San Francisco in a lot of cases. And so on the eastern side of it, you've got Jurassic metasediments, and on the western side, you've got Precambrian, nice, very foliated rocks. So here's a nice schematic cross section. Javier, you might recognize that one. Prettied it up. But here's that regional fault that's thought to be the main driver for the mineralization that we see here. It's important to note that in the metasediments, we've got mineralization as well. We see a dolostone on this target that's heavily brecciated, silicified, high-grade gold, silver, and a bit of lead and zinc with it as well. So this is a target for us, this Jurassic sediment. But the primary one is, in the Precambrian gneiss here, where we get these shear zones that outcrop at surface. At San Ramon, we've got an underground drive that goes 90 meters underground that's been sampled in the past by Timmins Gold, and that returned on average 5 grams per ton gold, up to 22 grams per ton within it. So that's why we want to focus there. And really, just to give you a sense of scale, that's roughly the outline of the San Francisco pit. So, we think there's potential by testing this model as we move to the west with some deeper holes that we can, potentially come across something fairly big. So now looking at San Ramon, again, this is sampling done along that underground drive. So this was thought to be completed between the 1950s and 1970s. And again, it was sampled roughly a decade ago, and that returned some fantastic high-grade results. We've gone back to confirm that in map. And 250 meters to the north of that, there's another underground drive showing, again, high-grade mineralization. So that's why we're excited about it. And then to add to that is that there was 3 reconnaissance holes completed in 2012 at San Ramon. All 3 intersected mineralization, multiple shear zones, low grade, but we think there's a lot of potential to tie that into a bigger, broader zone. And because we know we have the high-grade mineralization here, if we can tie that into it as well, much like as you see at San Francisco, then we think we've got something quite significant to build off of here. So far, we've got about 500 meters that we've defined mineralization at surface, and that also extends about 500 meters towards the west. And we think this is an excellent target for us. So this is where we're going to be drilling next, and really that red outline, that's our drill target as a whole, and again, trying to hone in on this higher grade mineralization. And just to build off that, this is a schematic of that underground drive. So they've gone along this shallow dipping shear zone, but this is all returning relatively consistent across from the entrance to it down below, high grade mineralization within that. And that's what's getting us excited about this target. And then quickly just looking at a schematic of that past drilling, that reconnaissance drilling done by Timmins Gold. So one of these holes had intersected several of these shear zones hosting mineralization. If you average it out across it, it's over 50 meters of 0.2, but some tighter zones with good mineralization there. And again, we feel that with drill density, we can start to build something and start to identify the higher grade mineralization in the area and then tie in a bigger target for us. And it's also important to note that this hole was lost in the fault. And again, we think that the limestone and the sediments below are a prospective target as well. So to summarize at Picacho, we're looking off at the distance. There's a San Francisco mine, great infrastructure here, 4-lane highway. There's a national rail line in between. And again, this is our key target for the near term, and just one of many that we have at El Picacho. Go the other way. So just to summarize quickly, so our next steps, first off, is to look at Pilar. We're going to be completing a bulk sample there, and the reason for that is that we've seen some very promising metallurgy so far, and we think there's a good chance that the head grade with the larger, more representative sample will showcase the potential for that grade to be a bit higher, because we know we've got that high grade mineralization along those faults and structures. We'll also be continuing with drilling. There's lots of step outs further to the southeast, as we've shown, that we want to complete and show that there's potential to increase the size of that overall footprint, and then start to infill around that deposit to build towards our first resource on the property. There's never been a resource completed at Pilar. And again, looking at the metallurgy and showing that that's looking as encouraging as we've seen so far in the bottle roll and the column leach studies we've done so far. And then looking at Picacho, again, big area to explore, 24 square kilometers, we were just driving on the site a couple days ago, and there's definitely a lot of open ground there that hasn't seen any detailed reconnaissance work, and that's what we want to start to continue to evaluate there, and then start with our maiden drill program at San Ramon, which we're looking to kick off this month, which will be really exciting for us. I think we can showcase that this target is just going to be the start for what we can potentially do here at Picacho. And then with that, I'll wrap up. Again, it's all about our team here in Mexico. We're very proud of the group that we've built, and we think the future is quite bright in Sonora. So with that, I'll open it up if there's any questions or